We have multiple new Toronto Blue Jays free agency updates to go over today, as multiple reports have dropped, revealing some new details surrounding the Jays' pursuit of Pete Alonso, as well as a new report from a Mets writer revealing the holdup between the two sides. We're going to break that down in this episode, as well as discuss some other free agency updates from other reporters as well. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, quick reminder, if you're a part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. We're on the road to 16,000 subscribers. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. Spring training is approaching, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the place to be for daily Jays news. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. I'm also back home at my normal setup, so the quality is back to where I want it to be. But let's dive right into the video. There's a ton to go over today. Now, obviously, we are now in late January 28th, as of the time of recording, and obviously the Pete Alonso situation has started to heat up. It hasn't come to a resolution just quite yet, though, and things are starting to get interesting. And a new report from Andy Martino, from a couple of other guys as well, Mark Healy, have revealed some details surrounding the Pete Alonso situation that is very intriguing. Let's start with this. So per Andy Martino, breaking: the Mets' final offer, which Pete Alonso turned down, is going to be tough for him to beat with the Blue Jays. Martino added that Alonso will likely not get as good as an offer from Toronto as he turned down from New York, and he could walk into spring training unsigned. Good news for the Mets. Now, this is very interesting. So this basically came out from Andy Martino yesterday, and you can see this here. In other words, Boris wants Toronto to increase their offer. So I want to preface this by saying I wouldn't, read too much into the fact that this is great for the Mets or bad for the Blue Jays or one way or the other. This entire situation has been a leverage play. But basically, Andy Martino came out on an MLB Network show, I believe it was. I think it was MLB Network. Either way, came out on a show, and he basically went on to say that the Pete Alonso situation at this moment is in an interesting spot. He rejected what he believes to be a 3-year, $70 million deal from the New York Mets with heavily deferred money towards the end. He declined that, and he basically goes on to say that from what he knows, he doesn't know that the Blue Jays are going to be able to beat that offer, especially given what they gave to Anthony Santander, which ended up being about a $68 million or mid $60 million after the deferred money. So when you start to look at that, couple different things. One, I honestly don't hate this for the Toronto Blue Jays, because we know now that the Jays are going to heavily overpay for Pete Alonso, but at the same time, I could see them beating that 3-year, $70 million offer if it comes down to it, but we know that this is all a leverage play. Scott Boras wants Toronto to increase their offer now. Steve Cohen came out and called out Scott Boras. He called out Pete Alonso. He said that he doesn't even think the ship has sailed surrounding Pete Alonso returning to New York. So if you're the Toronto Blue Jays now, you're going to come out and be thinking, okay, well, we can, do we want this to go to spring training? Probably not, but we can make a big, strong offer here while things are at a hold up with the Mets and get him and lure him to Toronto. And I think at this point, he said on MLB Network, it's going to be tough for the Jays to beat the 3-year, $70 million with deferred money. But if the Jays want to come out and offer him a similar amount with not deferred money, then things could get interesting. But we do know, especially given what happened with Ross Atkins and Anthony Santander, it seems like the Jays are kind of all in on the deferred money stuff here, which I honestly like. I like the way they're playing this offseason. It's been a good offseason thus far. And again, we've been hearing rumblings, we've been hearing reports that the Jays are in the final stages to acquire Pete Alonso, all these different things. I think at this point, the Jays have the highest offer for Pete Alonso. That's what reports are saying. Now, that's also because the Mets withdrew their most recent offer of 3 years, $70 million. Not entirely sold that the Jays have beaten that offer. Maybe they've matched it. And if they go ahead and match it and the Jays don't want to overpay and the Mets don't want to overpay, things will get interesting. And he also says that this could drag out a little bit into spring training. I don't think that's going to be the case, because then, Scott Boras, we saw that last year with Blake Snell, Matt Chapman, and players like that. And we also had Mark Healy, another Mets writer, say Andy Martino is correct, folks. Boras has a deal all set with the Jays, but Pete has yet to sign it. He was apparently swayed to wait because of what transpired at Amazing Day. Boras is pushing Toronto. Pete is hoping the Mets come back to the table. And this is interesting because, in theory, it's yet another free agent that doesn't necessarily want to come to Toronto. He has a deal on the table with, the Toronto Blue Jays. Boras has it all set. The deal is better. Boras wants him to come to Toronto because he makes more money, all these different things. Boras makes more money, that is. But Pete Alonso has his heart set with the Mets, which is very interesting considering the fact that Scott Boras recently came out and literally called out Boras and specifically Pete Alonso for the way that they're negotiating, the way they're handling business. And to basically say, to put it into perspective here, Boras wants him to be a Blue Jay. The deal is all set with the Jays. I would assume 3 years, $70 million, something around that. The Mets withdrew their offer, and now it's just on Alonso to sign it. And if Alonso doesn't sign it, then things could drag into spring training with the fact that, okay, maybe he wants to wait and see if the Mets do beat out that offer, and he's willing to wait until very deep into spring training to find out if or if not If they don't sign him, if not, then things start to get a little bit interesting there. You look at the Jays lineup, which we'll dive into. I mean, it's looking pretty good right now. Obviously, center field would be changed to either Miles Straw or Dalton Varsho once he's healthy, of course. But if you add Pete Alonso here, you can really start to think about how this team could really compete next season. And let's not also forget now, we're towards the tail end of January. The Vladimir Guerrero Jr. situation has until February 18th to come to an agreement, come to fruition regarding an extension. And if they don't get an extension done, then a lot of the questions surrounding this team are going to be amplified because, and this is a topic for another video, but the Vladdy situation is getting closer and closer here. And if you want to try to convince Vladdy to come back, and if you want to offer him that big extension, getting Pete Alonso would help greatly towards that. Hits 40 home runs, all these different things. But at this moment, they have the best offer on the table. They're patiently waiting. We're going to keep you up to date with the reports as they drop. I suspect this week things are really going to start to heat up about it. You have Steve Phillips, a former GM, saying if they get Pete Alonso, you can start to dream a little bit about this team. I think it's a great fit. I mean, I agree. You can start to think about how he would fit into the lineup, how he would help protect everybody, whether it be Bo, Vladdy, Santander, everybody. Even Alejandro Kirk. He'd elevate everybody's play, especially because of his home run potential. And then he also said he expects as early as today that he'll hear the Blue Jays have signed Alonso. Just his opinion, is it too much to ask that it actually happens? Still expect the Mets. And the reason everyone's saying still expect the Mets is because clearly Pete Alonso is waiting out the Mets to see if they will match the offer. And if they don't match the offer, he's going to be forced to go with the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, it's not the best case scenario for the Jays because it's not like he's like, I mean, Anthony Santander, we knew wanted to be a Blue Jay. He signed. And there was no, I'm going to wait out for the Orioles to re-sign or anything like that. He wanted to be a Toronto Blue Jay. Pete Alonso, on the other hand, is waiting out and saying, okay, I want to be a Met, but if not, I'll go to the Toronto Blue Jays, which, I mean, fair enough to him. Money is money, but, I mean, for a guy who's hit 34 home runs last year, 40 the 2 prior years, and was All-Stars the past 3 years, like, he should get paid, but in the day and age of baseball now with first baseman and everything like that, he just don't get paid as much as a free agent first baseman, which is, unfortunate for him, but he also did decline multiple deals from the Mets. And also, this was from Jeff Blair. If Max Scherzer or Quintana falls in my lap, I'm fine with that, but I'm still invested in getting another hitter here. And that's the biggest thing. Yes, there have been rumors about Max Scherzer. There's been rumors about Jose Quintana. And I think those are both 2 very good additions. But they need to go out and get a bat, which is why the Pete Alonso situation is so important. And I think the team, as constructed, is pretty solid. They definitely need one more big thumper, though. You obviously acquired Andres Gimenez. You acquired Anthony Santander. You've acquired Jeff Hoffman, Nick Sandlin. A lot of additions this offseason. But you need to go out and get one more power hitter. If you're able to go out and really pick up an absolute masher, I mean, Santander is that. But if you're able to get one more guy, then this team is going to look a lot better than they did last season, which I think they will anyway, regardless of if they, make this signing or not. But these reports are starting to escalate. It seems like Boras is playing the waiting game, and I think the Jays will wait them out and land Pete Alonso. But we'll keep you up to date with all the latest news regardless. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. This is the place to be for daily Jays content. Thank you guys for your continued support. It means the world to myself. You guys have been incredible. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.